Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive where, if you're here, you're probably trying to figure out how to conquer English all by yourself.
Yeah, it can definitely feel like a pretty big challenge.
Yeah, for sure. But the good thing is this deep dive is going to be all about giving you the tools and the techniques to really get there.
Exactly,
So we're
yeah.
dissecting a pretty popular YouTube video from Listen to English podcast. It lays out a really clear, roadmap to fluency. So,
Hey, it's a really interesting approach. Like, they really focus on rewiring your brain for English,
hmm.
almost like hacking its learning systems.
Okay.
It's not just about memorizing all those rules or vocabulary.
Right.
It's about making English a natural part of how you think.
I like that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So the first big tip is immersing yourself in daily listening.
Yeah, that's huge.
It sounds simple, but they really, they advocate for mimicking how babies learn,
Mhm.
constantly being exposed to the language. It's like you're building a mental roadmap of English just by hearing it, like nonstop.
And there's a good reason for that. I mean, neurologically speaking, when your brain is just constantly hearing English sounds, it starts to figure out the patterns.
Right.
And that builds the neural pathways, which are like the foundation of understanding and speaking the language.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I know some people might be thinking okay, listen to English every day. That sounds kind of boring.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this is where it gets interesting. The video actually suggests ditching those, textbooks and lectures and instead picking audio content that you actually enjoy.
Exactly. Like, think about what you're really into.
Right.
If you love true crime, there are tons of podcasts in English about that.
Oh, for sure.
Or maybe you're a history buff, find some documentaries in English.
Yeah, totally.
The whole point
Well,
is to make listening fun so it doesn't feel like a chore.
like finding that sweet spot between learning and something you actually want to do,
Exactly. Yeah.
but they don't stop at just passively listening, right?
No, not at all.
The video also emphasizes active listening, especially for beginners.
Absolutely. Yeah, active listening means you're really engaging with what you're hearing, not just letting it go in one ear and out the other.
Right.
They suggest starting with subtitles if you need to, especially to connect the words you're hearing with how they look written down.
Hmm.
It's like training wheels for your ears.
Well, okay, yeah.
But the goal is to wean yourself off them and train your brain to understand spoken English directly.
Okay, now that's an interesting approach.
Yeah.
Do you think that works for everyone, or do some people maybe need to stick with those subtitles a bit longer?
That's a good question. And honestly, it depends on the person and how they learn best.
Right, okay.
Some people really need that visual aid to understand what they're hearing,
Mhm.
but others, they might find subtitles distracting.
Okay.
It's all about figuring out what works for you.
So finding that balance between challenge and comfort.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, let's move on to their second tip, which is copy native speakers. Now, this one sounds a little more active
Oh, yeah, definitely.
than just listening.
Yeah, for sure.
So the idea here is to go beyond just understanding the words and start picking up on those things that make English sound natural.
Right, the nuances.
Yeah, exactly.
They talk about techniques like shadowing,
Oh.
which means you basically repeat what you hear at the same time as the speaker,
Oh, wow.
mimicking their intonation, even like the emotion in their voice.
So it's almost like you're becoming an actor, like embodying the language instead of just saying the words.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
It reminds me of when I tried to learn some lines from my favorite movie in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say my accent needed some work.
We've all been there.
But the video does suggest using movie scenes to practice, right?
Yeah, they do. They recommend using scenes from movies you know well because you already understand what's going on and the emotions involved.
Mm-hmm.
You can rewind, replay, really focus on matching how the actors say the lines.
So it's training your mouth and your mind to make those sounds and rhythms naturally, almost like building muscle memory for English.
Exactly.
I'm curious, from a technical standpoint, is there anything else people can do to improve their pronunciation besides just mimicking?
That's a great point. And while mimicking is a great start, understanding how sounds are produced can really help.
Okay.
Like learning about the International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA,
Right.
it gives you a more precise idea of how to pronounce those English sounds.
So a little phonetics can go a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
And the video actually talks about that a bit in their next tip, which is thinking in English. Now, this one might seem a little intimidating, especially for, beginners.
I can see why it sounds like a big step,
Yeah.
but it's really about shifting how you think about the language.
Mm.
They argue that breaking the habit of constantly translating is key to becoming fluent.
So instead of hearing English and mentally translating it to your native language, the goal is to start processing information directly in English.
Exactly, yeah.
But how do you actually do that? How do you make that change in your mind?
Well, the video gives some practical tips.
Okay.
One is to narrate your day in English. Just simple present tense descriptions, like you're
Right.
doing a play-by-play of your life, but in English.
So instead of thinking like, I'm making coffee, I would think I'm making coffee in English.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, it sounds simple, but I can see how that would force you to think in English.
Exactly.
And another tip they have is to ask yourself questions, or even have little debates with yourself, all in English.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's like engaging your brain and practicing thinking in English at the same time.
Right?
I love that. It's like having an internal dialogue, but in English.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. You can practice making thoughts and opinions without the pressure of a real conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And to really solidify those English thoughts, they recommend keeping a one-sentence-a-day English diary.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's simple, but it helps build that habit of expressing yourself in writing.
Yeah, I like that.
So even just one sentence a day helps you think in English.
For sure.
It's about making English a part of your inner world, not just something you study from a book.
I agree.
Okay, so we've covered listening, mimicking, and thinking in English.
It's a good start.
What's next on this fluency roadmap?
Well, let's dive into that, but first, a quick break. Welcome back. We've been talking about, immersing yourself in English, mimicking native speakers, even thinking in the language, which sounds pretty tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
It is, but, there's a common thread that runs through all of these, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you're totally right. The Listen to English podcast video really drives home the point. The consistency is key.
Yeah.
It's not about some magical shortcut or cramming a bunch of information quickly. It's about making English a part of your daily routine, even if it's just a few minutes.
And that consistency, it plays into how our brains learn better. Think about it.
Okay.
We make habits by doing things over and over again until they become automatic. Language learning's the same way. By constantly being around English, you're basically rewiring your brain to think and process information in the language.
It's like you're creating a path in the woods. At first, it's hard to see and hard to follow, but the more you walk it, the clearer and easier it gets.
I like that.
Eventually, it becomes second nature to follow that path, and in this case, that path leads to fluency.
That's a great analogy. It really is. And it reminds me of another point they make, making English a part of your life, not just something you study. Instead of keeping it separate, like in study sessions, try to fit it into things you already enjoy.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
If you love music, switch to English language artists.
that's a good one.
If you love cooking, find recipes in English.
Exactly. The options are endless.
Endless, but I imagine even with those fun activities, staying motivated can be hard, especially when you're learning solo.
You're right. That's a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's easy to feel isolated, lose momentum when you don't have a teacher or classmates pushing you. That's why the video really recommends finding a community of other English learners.
yes, it's like having a support group for your language journey.
Yeah,
You can share your struggles, you can celebrate your victories, you can motivate each other,
absolutely.
and you can learn from each other's experiences, pick up new tips.
For sure, and just knowing you're not alone can make a huge difference, especially when you're feeling stuck.
It's like they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
I like that.
But even with a group, there will be times when you doubt yourself. How does the video deal with that?
One of the best things they say is to celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
Yeah.
It's easy to get so focused on fluency, like the end goal, that we forget to acknowledge the steps we're taking.
It's like being so focused on getting to the top of a mountain that you forget to enjoy the view along the way.
Exactly, but those small wins, they can really keep you going.
Right, so instead of getting down that you're not fluent after a week or a month, celebrate those little things. Mastering a grammar rule, understanding a podcast without subtitles, having a short conversation with a native speaker.
All of those are signs that you're moving in the right direction.
It's like those aha moments remind you that your brain is always learning and getting better.
That's right.
And it's important to acknowledge those moments. Be proud of your progress.
Absolutely. The video even suggests rewarding yourself for your effort.
Okay. How?
Maybe you do a fun activity in English, treat yourself to something you like, or just take a break and recognize how far you've come.
Those are all good ideas. And it goes back to that idea that learning a language should be enjoyable, not just something you have to check off your list.
Exactly. And speaking of enjoyment, the video ends with a really inspiring message about the rewards of this journey.
Yeah, what do they say?
It's not just about learning a skill, it's about opening up a whole new world of possibilities. Being able to communicate in English, it lets you connect with people from all different cultures,
Hmm.
access information and resources you couldn't before, and broaden your horizons in so many ways.
It's like opening a door to a whole new set of experiences. You can travel to new places and really understand the culture, connect with people from all over the world, even pursue opportunities that you couldn't before.
That's the power of language.
It is.
And the video really stresses that these rewards, they're available to anyone willing to put in the work. Fluency isn't some special gift. It's a skill you can develop.
With dedication, consistency, and a positive attitude.
Exactly. That's the key.
That's a great message. It reminds us that this journey is about so much more than just memorizing words and grammar rules.
Right.
It's about growing as a person, expanding your worldview, and really understanding how powerful language can be.
And it's about believing in yourself and your ability to get there. The Listen to English podcast video does a great job of sending that message of encouragement and empowerment.
It really does. It's a good reminder that even though the journey might be tough, the rewards are worth it.
And even when you're not feeling motivated, just remember that small, consistent actions, along with the positive mindset, can get you amazing results.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, let's keep that sense of possibility and encouragement in mind. What are some final thoughts the video gives us about this amazing journey of solo English learning? Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into this whole solo English learning thing.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, and it's clear from the Listen to English podcast video that fluency is definitely within reach, even if you're tackling it on your own.
Absolutely.
But what are some final takeaways that can help our listeners stay on track and keep that motivation going?
What really stands out to me from the video's final message is that it's all about mindset.
Okay.
It's not just about the techniques. It's about having the right attitude, the one that sets you up for success. They really emphasize that fluency isn't like a destination. It's more like a journey.
I love that. It's like you're not racing towards some finish line.
Exactly.
It's about enjoying the process, the ups and downs, the whole experience.
Yeah, for sure.
But how do you suggest our listeners actually maintain that positive mindset, especially when they hit those bumps in the road that everyone faces when they're learning a language?
Well, the video brings up a really important point about small, consistent actions.
Hmm.
It's easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But they remind us that even those tiny steps forward, if you do them regularly, they can add up to huge progress over time.
So it's not about sprinting to the finish line. It's about building momentum, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So instead of feeling discouraged because you're not fluent after a week or even a month, focus on those small wins,
That's it.
like mastering a new grammar rule or understanding a podcast without subtitles,
Those are all huge.
or even having a short conversation with a native speaker.
Yeah, any of those things, those are all signs you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it's like those little aha moments. They show you that your brain is working, it's learning, it's getting better.
For sure.
And you guys celebrate those moments and be proud of how far you've come.
Absolutely. And the video even talks about rewarding yourself for your effort.
I like that.
It could be something simple, like doing one of your favorite activities in English,
Oh, okay.
or treating yourself to something special, or even just taking a break and acknowledging your progress.
Right, it's like a little pat on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
And it reinforces the idea that learning a language should be fun, not just another chore on your to-do list.
I couldn't agree more.
Now, the video also mentions something that I think is so important for anyone learning English, or any language really,
What's that?
and that's using the language for things you actually enjoy. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Absolutely. It goes back to what we were saying before about making English a part of your life, not just something you study separately. When you use English for things you love, like watching movies, listening to music, reading books, even playing video games,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you start to associate learning with positive feelings.
It takes the pressure off. It makes it fun.
Exactly.
Plus, when you're genuinely interested in what you're doing, you pick up new words and grammar without even realizing it.
It's like osmosis.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Listen to English podcast video does a great job of encouraging people to find those things that they really enjoy and use them to learn the language.
So as we wrap up, I think it's important to remember that fluency is possible for anyone who's willing to put in the work, be consistent, and have a positive attitude.
Absolutely.
But even more than that, it's about enjoying the journey. celebrating those little victories and finding ways to make the learning process something you look forward to.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And remember, fluency isn't about speaking perfectly or knowing every single word. It's about being able to communicate, connect with people, and experience the world in a deeper, more meaningful way.
That's what it's all about.
So, to everyone out there who's on this journey of learning English, know that you've got this. Embrace the challenge, celebrate your wins, and most importantly, have fun.
Have fun. That's the key.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.